Today we're taking a look at Pokemon Coastal version, a new game that was made by Random Ace 42 who had never made a ROM hack before. So today I wanted to see if somebody with little experience can actually make a pretty decent ROM hack. We'll be exploring the Fukala region in this video, a group of islands in the far west which was recently discovered by the Pokemon League. And our mission as a new trainer is to put brand new gyms to the test and discover the secrets of these tropical islands. However, a lot of people on these islands that were living there already are hostile towards the Pokemon League and may attack anybody that have contacts with them, because maybe they just want to be left alone. But despite all of this, we're still going to try and establish the Pokemon League here as well and become champion. First, we get introduced to Professor Oak and his grandson Richie. They need our help in New Shore Town, and me and my mother have also just moved in here. We're incredibly excited for this new adventure, and upon stepping outside, my nose picks up this incredible sea smell. We then follow the path to Professor Oak's lab, where we get to choose between our starter Pokemon. These consist of Bulbasaur, Totodile, and Torchic, so one from each generation. I decide to go with the little fire chicken because Blaziken is most of the time pretty overpowered. After naming Torchic after the Zinger Burger from KFC, I decided I wanted to hardcore Nuzlocke this game, which means level caps are now going to be implemented, and if a Pokemon dies, it is dead forever. Our rival Richie is going to have the Totodile line as his starter Pokemon throughout this playthrough, and in our very first battle, we just spam Scratch until the cows come home, or should I say, until the crocodiles go home. After celebrating our victory, we try to step outside, but Professor Oak has something to tell me. He says that we're going to be the first ever Fukala Pokemon League challenger, and gives me the directions to the first gym, which is somewhere up north. But before we can head over there, he sends me to Wave Break Town to pick up a package that he requires. So we follow this long round and eventually reach the New Shore Town Poke Market. We pick up our package, deliver it back to Professor Oak, and get Pokeballs and a Pokedex as our reward. We immediately start filling it out by capturing our first ever encounter Rismer on Route 1, and with all the noise the Explode line always makes, I decided to name it Boombox. After this, I went to the trainer school where I didn't pay tuition for, and saw that Richie was here as well, who was ready to school me. He's already learned a lot of things here like type effectiveness, but because we have a brain that literally only contains Pokemon, I personally think we'll be fine against this guy, as he starts off with his very own Whismur. With a burn from Torchic's Ember and a pound for my very own Whismur, we managed to take it out, but the second Pokemon Totodile gave me a little bit of trouble, as my Blaze boosted critical hit Ember was the only reason I was able to take this thing out. We then steal some girl's notes and head right to the building next to the school to pick up a free old rod from a random fisherman. But first, a word to the sponsor of today's video, Miraibo Go, the world's first truly free pal-like pet catching survival building mobile game. And I know that was a lot of words that might have made your brain explode, but imagine a world where you can dive into epic adventures all while building your own unique bases together with your pets. Speaking of pets, these are monster-like creatures that you'll be able to befriend so that they can help you in multiplayer battles, and they will help you explore the vast and enchanting world of Miraibo. There's over 100 to collect, each one cuter and cooler than the last, so if you're a completionist, this is going to be something you'll want to do. So whether you're building your dream home or going on wild adventures while teaming up with your friends, the possibilities are basically endless. So join up with a community that shares your passion for exploration and creativity today by trying out the open beta that is here right now, and you can try it out on your PC or mobile so you can play it wherever you are, whenever you want. So what are you waiting for? Download Miraibo Go today with the link in the description or pinned comment down below, and let's explore together. Right next to his house, there is a cave that will give you the best clothes ever, because it's named Dripstone Cave. Inside, we capture every hiker's worst nightmare, Zubat, and considering it was dark in here and it was already level 13, I decided to head back out of there and go north. This led me to Seabreeze Town, and there was a lot here. For example, a museum that I wasn't allowed to enter until we have 8 badges, a huge pond in the middle of town that we got a Magikarp out of, and just outside of the town, town, there's something I would like to call the Battle Mountain. And it's what you may expect, a giant mountain with a ton of trainers on it that you have to beat. While I was going through all these trainers, I got a ton of evolutions, namely Torchic into Combusken, Magikarp into Gyarados, and Whismur into Loudred. On top of this mountain, you get to face Sage Matilda. She mostly has Rock-type Pokemon, so Combusken was able to kick through all of them without much trouble, and as a reward, we get a giant-looking egg. So what did I do? I just ran back and forth for a couple of minutes until it hatched into this beautiful little Larvitar, and his name is going to be Harvey. And he takes me to the first gym leader, George. He's surprising to see his first challenger so quickly, but he's not going to be holding back. This is also where we find out that gym leaders specialize in two typings. For example, George here specializes in flying and grass types, as he leads off with a pretty useless flying grass type in Hoppip. With just 2 bites of Bebop, we take care of it quickly, and the next Pokemon, Skiploom, gets tackled. We did get poisoned in the process and have lost a lot of HP, so we swap out into Boombox for his last Pokemon, Pidgeotto. After hitting a single pound, we already have to swap out into Larvitar, who took an abundance of strikes from Aerial Ace and Quick Attack before finishing it off with some bites, and so we ate up this gym like a good bucket of tenders. And so we get the Skytree badge as well as the ability to light up caves. We then head straight to the cave that we went into earlier, just to find out that it's way too big for its boots. Like, there is so many sections to this cave that run into dead ends. There is just nothing all that interesting in here, and just making a cave bigger for the sake of making it bigger really doesn't help it. Eventually, I did make it to the outside of the cave, which led me to Route 2. Over here, I captured my next encounter, Teddiursa, and after fighting a couple of trainers on this route, I evolved a Zubat into Golbat. After going through this uneventful route, we reach Mao Forest, where our encounter was a Paras, possibly the worst encounter you can get ever. And despite this being a forest, I didn't stay in it too long and went to Route 3, where we found somebody that admitted to me that he was committing crimes. And after he tried to steal my Pokemon, we had to beat him up and steal his Sun and Moonstone. Luckily, there was an officer right nearby, so we turned him in and grabbed Kung the Mankey. Route 3 then led me into Zolopolis City, a city that is famous for its way too expensive bike shop, but also some generous people like this guy that gave me a free HM for cut. When we're trying to make our way to the gym leader of this town, we meet Richie again. He says that the gym here is an absolute joke, and that even though they've just set up shop, they should be doing way better. And so he wants a real challenge. That's why he battles me with his newly acquired Trapinch. I make sure to bury it in some stomach acids from Gyarados after biting it to death. Then Wing Attack from Golbat takes out Venonat, and once Combusken clears the field from Loudred with Double Kick, Gyarados can Dragon Rage the final Pokemon Croconaw 2 times for a pretty easy win. Before he leaves, he warns me that the people on this island might randomly attack me because we are competing in the Pokemon League Challenge, but so far everybody we've met has been pretty nice. However, we will keep that in the back of our minds when we challenge this next gym leader whose name is Austin, specializing in normal and fighting types, as he starts out with an Eevee. We double kick that with Zinger, then move on to Hitmonchan. We get Thunder Punch and Paralyzed, but that is no problem as we kick it out of here once again. The final Pokemon takes up a huge chunk of the screen because it's Hariyama, but his kryptonite is poisonous bats. So after harassing him with a couple of wing attacks, we managed to grab another victory as we acquire the Shield Badge. But heading outside and onto Sea Route number 2, we grab our next encounter, Slowpoke, who is obviously a mood. I mean, who wouldn't love just derping around and sleeping all day? But you know who's even more of a mood? This girl's Snorlax. He's just chilling on the beach, sleeping the entire day. I wish I had his life. But I'm a Pokemon champion through and through, so I do what I do best, defeating every trainer in my sight. And this got me through the round with a couple more evolutions, namely Paras into Parasect, Teddiursa into Ursaring, and Larvitar into Pupitar. Our road then led me to Seafoam City, but before we could even enter, we get ambushed by our rival yet again. And he just checked out the gym in this town and is surprised with its strength, and says that we might even fail if our Pokemon aren't grinded up enough. But we will determine that ourselves, because if we can beat Richie, we can definitely beat this next gym. Let's start. I start off with Combuskin and set up a Swords Dance to take out Trapinch the next turn with Double Kick. The next Pokemon we face here is Venomoth, who poisons me and also puts me into a confused state with Supersonic. We're able to clear it off the field with 2 Embers though, but when Feraligatr comes out, I know I have to take Combuskin out of the equation. We bring in Bebop to start Dragon Raging, and we did get unlucky a few times by getting flinched because of Feraligatr's bites, but eventually we do come out on top. This last Pokemon is a Loudred, so me and Harvey just Rock Slide away until we win, and this gives us the opportunity to check out the rest of town. We found a shop with incredibly useful items like choice bands, leftovers, link cables, and they even sold vitamins and rare candy so your Pokemon can become the strongest of all time. We then did some huge evolutions like Combuskin into Blaziken, giving me the ultimate power of Colonel Sanders, Golbat into the Speedster that is Crobat, and Mankey into the hard-hitting Primeape. With these bad boys, I went into the next gym, which is led by an Ice-Water type leader, and of course, the gym is full of ice puzzles. Once you get through those, you get to face the leader Sam and her Vaporeon. I have a Choice Banded Primeape here, which is going to hit like a truck anyway, but this critical hit I got made Vaporeon faint in 1 turn. The incoming Lapras was no problem as we also one-shot this, but then Swampert came out, her ace. He was able to hit 1 Earthquake and luckily missed his next Muddy Water so that Kung could survive and hit 2 low kicks to finish off the battle. And so we get the Frozen Wave badge and enter the Icefall Cave next to the gym. Inside, I was expecting an Ice-type Pokemon as our encounter, and I was right since we got Spheal, a cute little ball that made doing all of these ice puzzles a little more bearable. At the end of the cave, we find a Pokeball sitting in the middle of nowhere, which was the Chamfer Fly. Upon picking it up, our rival enters and says that there is trouble at New Shore Town at the professor's lab. Apparently, some anti-League thugs have raided him, and we have to go and see if everything is okay. So this Fly HM definitely came at the right moment. As we arrive at the lab, we don't see any anti-Islanders, we only see Team Rocket Grunts. They thought we were on our gym badge quest and that the lab was free to pillage or something. Luckily, we came back just in time and defeated them without much effort. They flee from the lab and Professor Oak tells me everything. Apparently, Richie was here earlier and he already got rid of those Islanders, but when Richie left, these Team Rocket Grunts saw the opportunity to raid the lab. Luckily, they weren't able to steal or break anything and he doubts that they'll be coming back. He also trained some of his own Pokemon and hopes that we can battle each other in the future. For now though, he's just happy that we're safe and even hands me the Oak ticket as a reward. This allows us to take a boat ride to the next destination. So we head back to the fisherman where we got the old rod from. He gives me the HM for Surf now and then gives me a boat ride to the Rocky Heights where a lot of people are not happy about our coming. You see, normally when you break into people's houses and talk to them, they are very friendly or they try to give you something. But here, people are actually getting mad at me, all because I'm associated with the Pokemon League. They even attacked me with their Pokemon, forcing me out of their houses. Luckily, after this, I was able to reach Route 5 where my next encounter was Scyther. But before we take him out for a spin, we reach Nanowatt City. And of course, when you reach a new city, it's time for a new rival battle. Richie's already here. He says this next gym is by far the best one he has seen yet, so we should be able to go and take it on soon. But first, I destroy his team again by double kicking Trapinch, rock sliding Venomoth, and using 2 slashes on Feraligatr. When Loudred hits the field, I use a Karate Chop with Kung, and finally we bring in Gyarados to deal with Drowsy by using Bite. Once the battle is over, we get a chance at exploring the city. We see that it's infested with Team Rocket Grunts that are not too happy with our presence. After taking some of them out, we hear rumors of a hideout being somewhere nearby, but can't find anything except for an old lab that seemed to belong to Professor Oak before he moved to New Shore Town. On the 2nd floor of one of the apartment buildings, you also get the opportunity to talk to the ROM hack maker himself, where he teases at a battle with him somewhere near the end of the game, and he also tells you how much time and effort he's put into making this this ROM hack. Literal months of work, which sounds like a lot, and I absolutely respect ROM hack and fan game creators so much because they do it for free and they just deserve all the love their games are getting. And nearly every project is just filled with passion. After this encounter, we evolve our Scyther into Scizor with the link cable item. After this, we head to the local gym and fight Lydia with her bug and electric types. A weird type combo when you think about it because Vikavolt isn't even in the game yet. However, that doesn't stop her from throwing out Ledian, so we use Wing Attack with Crobat and knock it out instantly. Our only counter for Jolteon was Pupitar, so after swapping it in and negating a Thunderbolt, we get hit with 2 sets of double kicks and spam 4 Rock Slides in a row to take it down. The incoming Pokemon, our Maldo, also got killed by 2 Rock Slides, but we got a little bit lucky here because the first one managed to flinch. With our last Pokemon being Scizor, I only had one more thing to do, and that was hit a Blaze Kick with Zinger, and bada bing, bada boom. We have the Bug Bite badge, which actually sounds like a very fun name to pronounce. I encourage you to do it at home as well. We move out and go to the next route to capture this stupid Skitty that I don't care about. What I do care about is what we run into here, a like and subscribe checkpoint, to make sure that you have given this video some love. Done? Right. Let's move on to Venopolis City, where we listen to a huge speech from this old man that didn't want to shut up. In the end, I just started mashing A to get through his dialogue, and as a reward for that, I got to pick one of the Pokemon behind him to become mine. And I picked Gardevoir for no apparent reason at all. We checked out the rest of town, but couldn't really find anything of interest except for our evolution from Spheal all the way into Walrein. Then it was time for us to fight Leah, the 5th gym leader. She seems to be Sabrina's twin, not only because of her appearance, but also because she specializes in Psychic-type Pokemon. But not only Psychic types, also Poison. Luckily, she leads off with a Wobbuffet, which gives me the opportunity to sit up with Scizors. 3 Swords Dances in a row, and then a Slash, and boom. The punching bag is already done and busted up. The Moon also gets Fury Cutters, just like Alakazam, but when Muk hits the field, I start slashing. When it finally goes down after spamming Minimize, we only need one more Wing Attack to take out Roselia, and with the Venom badge in our pocket, we head outside of the gym and see that Richie is here too. He's got some more intel on Team Rocket for us. They apparently have a hideout somewhere near Route 5 in an abandoned house, and encourages me to raid that hideout all by myself. I mean, we're a 12-year-old boy, we don't know better, so we head in there with all of those criminals, do some spinning on the tiles, and reach the end where normally Giovanni would be. But here we see a bald man with glasses. His name is Azure, and he doesn't really say anything besides,
"The look in your eyes. You want to battle, right, kid? Well, let's go all out together."
He's a special little dude as he loves using water types for some reason, starting out with Gyarados. So I swap into my Ursaring, use Trash, which turns Gyarados into trash. Caesar can take out the incoming Sharpedo and Slowking by using Wing Attack and Slash. After the battle, Azure tells me that we're already too late because his master's plan is already in motion, even though we have no idea what this guy is even talking about. That's when Richie enters the room and says that he looked at the computer files to see what their plan is going to be. They are going to summon Kyogre, but their preparations aren't ready yet. They should be hiding in an abandoned factory in the Steel Dragon City, so that will definitely be our next checkpoint. So we start using our Surf to go to Sea Route 1, where we can capture 2 Pokemon, Corsola and Horsey. This eventually led us to another cave where our encounter was Aron. Of course, there is also another end to this cave that led to Route 7, and over there, we get the inferior water ground type Quagsire. In our path, there was a house, and when I entered it, this woman had a Pokeball laying around, so I tried to steal it, but she pushed me aside and told me that she wouldn't give her precious item up to a thief like me, and that if we really wanted it, we should bring her a big mushroom. And I'm not Mario, so I won't be doing that. Instead, I'll be capturing this Natu and heading into Ghost Town. This place gave me the creeps, with an abandoned Pokemon Center that is out of power and houses that are locked, but we can hear whispers from the other side. You can also find the Silscope and TM for Shadow Ball here, but when you enter the gym that's in this town, you once again see that it's abandoned. But when you step back outside, the place is all of a sudden filled with Pokemon. When you talk to them, they don't seem to be noticing you and all have this empty look in their eyes. I wanted to search for more answers by entering the tower in the middle, but I wasn't allowed. So for now, I left this place alone and evolved my Pupitar into Tyranitar. We then got led into Steel Dragon City, where we immediately found a shop with very good TMs. So after buying the most useful ones, I then headed to the abandoned factory, where we do indeed find the rest of the Team Rocket Grunts. But not only that, of course, also more spinning tiles. These allowed me to spin into the final room, where we see 3 gym leaders debating with Azure and an unknown person. His name is Isaiah, and he is the 8th gym leader, but also the leader of Team Rocket. He's someone that has lived on these islands for many years and believes that the Pokemon League is truly evil and will only do bad things to the islands. The 3 gym leaders are trying to calm him down by saying that they're here to help, but Isaiah is having nothing of it, thinking that they will be oppressors instead. You see, a long time ago, all the people among the islands united together to fight the legendary Pokemon Kyogre, and Isaiah wants to recreate that feeling of unity and tells the gym leaders and myself to join his cause or sink while trying to defend ours. He then says that he has to leave very quickly because he has an important meeting about Kyogre himself. He orders Azure to slow down the gym leaders, and as he leaves, Terry, the 6th gym leader, notices me and tells me to deal with Azure so that they can go behind Isaiah. He says that we won't get lucky twice and that this time we will be defeated. Well, let's see if this guy is right. We start off by getting hit with a Hyper Beam on Gardevoir, but countering back with a Thunderbolt to take out Gyarados. For Lantern, I swap into Parasect, but he gets destroyed by Confusion and Hydro Pumps, which basically means we lost the most useless Pokemon we already had, so I'm not too bummed out about this. Ted then uses Thrash to take out Lantern, Crawdaunt, and Sharpedo, but when Kingdra hits the field, I have to swap out into Walrein, who can hit 2 Ice Beams, one of them being a critical hit, to take out the large Seahorse, and with yet another Trash from Ursaring, Slowking is also defeated. Azure leaves and says that Kyogre will unify the islands again and that the Pokemon League is definitely not going to be able to stand up to the beast. But it's definitely not time for that yet. No, first we have to go and get our 6th gym badge from Terry. His gym is a glorified spin puzzle, which was a little tedious to get through, as it even got me soft-locked a couple of times. After some time, we finally made it through though, and even puked on his floor. He then initiated a battle with me, in which we found out that he specializes in Steel and Dragon types. This is going to give Walrein free kills. But first we start off by killing Skarmory with Thunderbolt. Walrein then manages to take out Steelix and Flygon with Surf and Ice Beam, and then swap into Ursaring, who can take care of Kingdra, but also his big nasty Dragonite. Finally, he has Aggron, and with one final serve from Walrein, the Soul Badge is ours. This gave me an opportunity to go back to the ghost town from earlier and investigate some more, because the tower has been opened up. As we enter, we get this eerie feeling that we're being watched, and as we go up to a statue in the middle, we see that all the Pokemon here have been victims from Kyogre's attack all those years ago, as their souls have been laid to rest here. On the next floor, our encounter was a spooky haunter, and when he was added to the squad, we start making our way through the next couple of floors, and we see glimpses of our rival on every single one of them, but his eyes are just empty as he's following us around, and sometimes even blocks our path without saying a word. But on the second to last floor, he has a Pokeball in his hands and clearly wants a battle. So we agree and manage to sweep through his entire team without anybody dying, but the weird thing was a Banette hiding right in the middle of plain sight. He doesn't have a Shuppet nor a Banette, which must mean this entire illusion was created by this Banette. After being defeated, he smiles and fades into nothingness. And this unlocked the final staircase for me, leading to the heart of this tomb, where we meet a mysterious man named Logan, and he is this town's gym leader, specializing in ghost and dark types. He keeps this tower clean to respect all the fallen Pokemon and people that lay here, and the spirits have told him that Aya was going to arrive, so we're going to have to clash it out. And this is kind of how it went. We drowned out his Mytiena. Then on Umbreon, I swapped into Kitchen the Scizor and used 3 Swords Dances. I then spammed Fury Cutter to take out this Umbreon, and because it just kept on getting stronger and stronger every turn, and because I'm at +6, we were also able to kill Absol, Sableye, Gengar, and even Dusknoir in one shot. With our next gym badge acquired, we learned that all the people have fled this town because of the angry spirits, and that he's basically been putting them to rest and fighting them all on his own. That's why the Pokemon League wanted him to be the gym leader of this town. And now he just hopes that when the spirits finally go back to rest, that people will start flowing in again and the town can relive its old glory days. We also learned that somewhere inside the ocean, Team Rocket has been raiding the Shrine Cave, a place where you can summon the legendary ocean fish. So we make our way over there ourselves and traverse the waters that are inside. Inside the ruins, we find Richie, who says that Isaiah has already gone ahead into this room with the blue orb to try and summon Kyogre. And while I am going to try and stop him, Richie is going to search for some gym leaders to try and help me out. We enter the room and Isaiah just says that he's going to be taking me out with Kyogre like he did with Richie, who tried to stop him earlier. Only this time, the power of Kyogre should be able to wipe out a lot more than just me, so we can't hold back. So I throw out my Gardevoir and use Thunderbolt on Kyogre. I then swap out into Warrain because I've taken way too much damage from Water Spout, and I start spamming Surf because of the rain. It does actual decent damage, but he manages to heal up with a full restore. I get a couple more hits in before I finally fall to an Ancient Power, but this sacrifice was necessary because now we can survive on 5 HP with Ted and counter back with a Thrash to take down this oversized aquarium fish. Kyogre then disappears into the water, but Isaiah says that it isn't over yet. He's going to be healing up his team and we will have our rematch somewhere else, as he then escapes through my fingertips. This is where I make a huge mistake because I use an escape rope to exit this cave. Now normally I should have just walked out to trigger some dialogue with Richie, but now that doesn't happen. But I still went on with my business as usual, going to the final island where Blaze Town is located. Inside we find out that Team Rocket grunts actually have normal life and families. So after harassing him a couple of times and telling him that he should be doing way better to provide for his family, we then go outside and follow Route 8, which leads to the Ember Depths, a hot cave that is filled with near corridors, lava, but most importantly, the hideaway of Isaiah. Only when I enter it, it's the dialogue that plays after you've already defeated him. So I needed to go back to the cave from before with Kyogre, enter the ruins again to trigger the dialogue with an invisible Richie who tells me to come to the Ember Depths. And then I went back to Isaiah just to see that he was also invisible while his dialogue was playing. He basically demands a rematch, and if we win, we get to have his gym badge, but if he wins, we have to give him the blue orb. And if I wasn't so sure that I was gonna win, this might have been the worst deal of a lifetime, because he could literally put the entire world underwater. But what's even weirder is that when you start the battle, you may expect him to have water-type Pokemon because he wants to summon Kyogre. Nope, he has a full fire-type team, as he leads off with a Torkoal that sets up a Sunny Day and 2 Smoke Screens while I use 3 Calm Minds with Gardevoir. I then take it out with a Psychic just like the next one, Nidoking. Flygon then comes in and is able to hit 3 crunches, one of them being a crit, leaving my Gardevoir with 30 HP, all because I missed 2 Psychics in a row. My third one hit, taking out the Flygon, but for Steelix we finally have to swap out, so I bring in Blaziken and go for the Blaze Kick. This finishes it off, and with Ursaring's Thrashes we manage to sweep the rest of the fight. After this embarrassing defeat, Isaiah leaves, never to be seen again. But we now have 8 gym badges, which means it's time to see what this bad Pokemon League is all about. So we go to Seabreeze Town and check out that museum from the start of the game that we couldn't enter without our 8 gym badges. Once we walk inside, we see that there is a couple of stairs. These lead all to rematch battles with the gym leaders. So if you'd like to test your strength against them and see what their ultimate teams are like, you can. But I didn't do this. I went straight to the captain here, who gives me a straight trip to Victory Road with his boat. Like usual, there is a big path here where you can capture some Pokemon and battle a ton of trainers. Our encounter was a Skarmory that we unfortunately never used. And then you have your usual cave filled with trainers and strength puzzles that nobody likes to do. But when we left Victory Road, a surprise guest appearance suddenly happened. It was our long-lost mentor, Professor Oak. He wants to be our final battle before we take on the league to see if we are really worthy of being its first challenger. My team is already level 100 because that's the next level cap for the Pokemon League, so this was a little bit easier than it should have been. We start off by using Calm Minds on Tauros and take it out with Psychic. The incoming Gyarados dies to Thunderbolt and ride on to Psychic. Once zwiggojr hits the field, I swap out into Scizor and spam Fury Cutter and Wing Attack until the coconuts fall off the tree. I then use Stead to thrash Arcanine and Dragonite, but it isn't enough to kill the latter, so I bring in Scizor again and use Slash to finish off Oak. After the battle, we get some words of praise, and he also says that because of me, trainers across the entire region will be able to challenge the Pokemon League once I'm done, so this is a great step in the right direction. Inside the Pokemon League itself, I make my final team, and there aren't all that many adjustments to it. I just added Tyranitar and Crobat to it, and boom, I was done. I then stepped into the first room and met Tyler. I immediately noticed that the Elite Four and Champion won't have a set typing because all of them have already been utilized by the gym leaders, so they just have really good set-in-stone teams. This guy started off with a Gengar, for example, which we of course destroy with Psychic. For the next Pokemon Walrein, I bring in Blaziken, do get Toxic and Body Slam, but eventually take it out with Sky Uppercut, just like the next one, Tyranitar. For Alakazam, I brought in my own Tyranitar and used Rock Slide to take it down as well as Charizard, but the final Pokemon was Ditto, and I wanted it to transform into something that will be easy to kill, so I swapped in Crobat, then back out into Harvey and Rock Slid it again, winning my first battle comfortably, which allowed me to move on to the second member, the scientist named Drake. I'm not a huge fan of his music, so let's hope this career turns out a little bit better for him. We start off with an easy kill on Smeargle with Sky Uppercut. Espeon did a couple of tricks with Substitute, but couldn't really touch my Godzilla. After I hit an Earthquake, and with the Sandstorm damage combined, the Purple Cat was down, and we can take out our next Pokemon Shedinja with the same Sandstorm damage. Azumarill is also a victim to a Thunderbolt, Substitute, and then Sandstorm damage death, and that was pretty surprising because I didn't expect Sandstorm to be so crucial in this fight. We then take out Dodrio with Thunderbolt, and the final Pokemon is yet another Ditto, so we do the same as we did before and use Rock Slide. With the second battle done, the third one was already on the horizon. This time we're fighting Lucas, and he's the brother of the champion, so that's why he might have already been in the Elite Four, because he learned a lot from him. However, is it enough to battle me? You see, he leads off with a Vaporeon who he baton passes into Metagross with. I then go into Tyranitar and take an explosion like a champ. I'm also able to take down the prehistoric Aerodactyl with Rock Slide because it used Hidden Power, which barely did any damage. The next Pokemon, Gengar, stirs up some trouble. As I bring in Gardevoir and set up a Calm Mind, it decides to go for Explosion, which kills me and leaves me with only 5 Pokemon to take down this guy and 2 others. So we might be in huge trouble. The rest of this fight did go smoothly as we take down yet another Tyranitar, Starmie, and Vaporeon with the help of Blaziken, Ursaring, and Scizor. With that battle out of the way, we only have 2 more to go, and our next one is against Elliot, the champion's rival, who's ready to try and stop me in my very own tracks. Luckily for me, his first Pokemon Breloom is an easy one-shot with Wing Attack. Blissey, on the other hand, requires me to swap into Blaziken. I'm able to set up 2 Swords Dances, but do get hit with a Toxic. I then take it out with a Sky Uppercut and finish off the next Pokemon Charizard with a Slash. I then use Ted's Thrashes to take out Gyarados and Dragonite without much trouble, but the final Pokemon Snorlax seems a bit too scary, so I swap out into Tyranitar, not expecting a Focus Punch of all things. This one-shots my Godzilla, so we can't use him anymore, and I then go into Scizor, set up my Swords Dance, and take revenge by using 2 Slashes to take out this stupid sleeping giant. With 4 Pokemon left in my team, I entered the champion's room, only to find out that it's the developer of the game itself. But that sure doesn't scare me, as he leads off with a Wobbuffet against my Scizor. I set up 3 Swords Dances and use a Slash, but it's holding a Focus Sash, which makes it survive and counter back to kill my Scizor. That's 3 Pokemon deaths so far. I don't want anybody else to die, so I bring in Blaziken, use Blaze Kick, and then set up 3 more Swords Dances to take it out with yet another slash. This makes taking out Steelix, Jumpluff, and Venusaur incredibly easy, as Blaze Kick is all we needed. And I know that I should have swapped when Crobat hit the field, but I was stupid and was just spamming my A button, which also ended up getting my starter killed. Now we only have 2 more Pokemon remaining against his last 2. Luckily, one of them is Ursaring with a Choice Band, and once I click Thrash, Crobat stood no chance, and the final Pokemon, Electrode, bit the dust even faster. And so we are crowned champion of Pokemon Coastal version, and so successfully set up a Pokemon League system that in the future will be great for the islands that surround it. Now, I did kind of enjoy this game for a first ever ROM hack. It's actually pretty good. It reminds me of ROM hacks of the old days where there's nothing really all that special going on. Like, for example, there is no physical special split in this game. There is no more than the original 3 generations, which can definitely work. But there was one thing that absolutely killed this game for me, and it was the level caps in between gym leaders. Sometimes they would jump up by like 20 or 30 levels, and sometimes it will just be a couple of them. And so I have to say that the pacing in terms of leveling is quite literally one of the worst things I've ever seen here. A lot of the routes, towns, caves, and everything in between also don't feel special. They just feel like Fire Red, but just changed around a little bit, and I think that there could have been a lot more done with it. Like, for example, with the abandoned ghost town, which was by far my favorite because it had some backstory to it. The story in itself is a little bit short, and there's really not all that much happening in between your gym battles, which also made the game feel a little empty, as the only thing you basically got was the interactions with your rival. Besides all of that, I don't think this is a bad first try at a ROM hack, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, and with this as a base, I can only hope that the other ROM hacks that he might produce in the future will only proceed to be better and better. With all of that out of the way, I of course want to thank my membership and Patreon supporters as always, as their support is always immensely appreciated. And without any further ado, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'm Zwiggo, and I see you all in the next one.